Passionate pleasure, weightless as a feather. Stuck, I'm tethered, gotta be free. Cowboy in a western, get your shit together. Mine is free, that's all I need. So get on my frequency. Can't be mad, I know who I'm gonna be. Get on my frequency. Float, drifting, you know I feel the breeze on the way. So I'm sailing through that way. Zero gravity on me. I'm sailing through the waves. Classics are treasures, famous endeavors. This won't last forever. Money ain't a thing. Mellow under pressure. Got your shit together. No time wasting. Living like a king. So get on my frequency. Can't be mad, I know who I'm gonna be. Get on my frequency. Float, drifting, you know I feel the breeze on the way. So I'm sailing through that way. Zero gravity on me. I'm sailing through the waves. So I'm sailing through that way. Zero gravity on me.
What's up, everybody? It's Danny back here again at Excellent Sound with my boys Styles&Complete.
Hey,
Yo.
Alex and Austin are here.
Oh, sorry.
And a puppy we're gonna name
Brando.
Brando is his name.
Trap out the Brando.
Brando's here trapping out. We're here. We're gonna hang out. We're gonna ask some questions. If you just heard that little number right there, that little preview, that was a preview for their new single coming out on January. Did I do it? 26?
Yep.
26.
26, called Waves.
Good job.
On, super excited about this, their new record label called
Yeah.
Meta Records.
Check it out right now. These guys are doing big things. Start their own record label. They got a bunch of artists coming out. We're super excited to hear from them what they got for us today. And obviously, you can go check out their SoundClouds, Instagram. Check us out. We'll show you guys all that stuff. We'll link in all that shit. But yeah, make sure you guys, if you guys like this video, give us a sub and a wub, saturate it, whatever the fuck you want to do. But let's fucking hang out. Let's ask some questions.
Hold on, a sub and a wub.
A sub and a wub in the morning, dude. Okay, so
What does that mean?
a saturated sub, like a subscription. Wub is just, we just rhymed it. That's the only reason I came up.
Oh, a sub. Okay,
Like a sub and a wub.
Like a subscription.
Or
I
a
get it.
limited like.
So wait, where does the saturated part come in?
Like
You're
we
just-
always, I
you're just-
saturate all my 808s.
Yeah, but where does it translate to the saturated sub?
Oh, on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh no. I'm saying where does the saturated part come in for the subscription?
Oh, I don't know.
How do you do a
How do you
specifically saturated subscription?
You just
is what I'm
fucking-
wondering.
Gotta hit your
You gotta hit it.
Yeah.
Okay. You gotta hit it
Smash
hard
it.
so it distorts
You
the
gotta
keyboard.
Smash that shit.
Distorted keyboard sounds. I dig it.
Smash
I dig
that shit.
I dig the
I
vibe.
Damn, you guys are already great at interviewing. This is already going
Yeah.
so good. So much better than our other
It's
ones.
my first dog
We know
interview.
That's
for
right.
sure. We're gonna have to get Brandon away on some shit.
Have to have some-
Later.
Look at
It would
him.
be funny if you could like ventriloquist style like talk for the dog. Like,
Brando.
Your dog doesn't talk.
No, I wish. it
Okay.
did. Yeah. So I want to ask you guys some questions. So basically, how essentially our channel works, like you guys have seen it, but let me spit out my gum. Everybody usually watching is a producer themselves. You guys have already done so much stuff. You have releases on Borgore. You've had tracks with Waka Flocka. You've had tracks with G-Eazy. You guys have done tours. You guys have done it, basically. You guys are doing it. So people at home want to know, essentially, how to do it, right? What you guys are doing, what you guys are using, and all that stuff as far as processing. They also want to know what's going on with you guys as far as, like, you know, your new music that's coming out, which we just showed Waves. So, yeah, I just want to get into some of that type of stuff and just have a conversation. The first question I have for you guys is, obviously, I know this, but I don't think a lot of people know this out there, is the DAW that you guys are using is...
Reason.
That's right.
Propellerheads
Reason.
Yep.
.se.
And why do you find that, like, as far as, like, for Reason? Because I think a lot of people think, they're always asking, is, like, one better than the other? And I don't think there's a right answer for that. I always just kind of feel like it's just whatever you're feeling, whatever's your workflow. So as far as, like, for you, what is your reason for Reason?
It was funny
Got him.
when we met. He was using, like, I was heavy into production and he was heavier into DJing, but he had just started using Reason. and I was using Reason, so it was kind of like he was like, "Yo, I just started using this program." I'm like, "Cool," because no one else does, but now we both do, so it kind of just worked out. And then over the years, it was just like, when you're growing with a DAW and you get good at it, you might as well, continue getting good at it. I never felt like I peaked at Reason. I should switch to another program.
Right.
I always felt like there was more to learn, and so I just stayed with it. And then eventually, we got to a point where it was like, man, all right, Reason's still not doing VSTs.
Yeah,
and Serum was really dope, and to go to all these people's studios and see them using Serum, and we were like, man, all right, what?
We felt behind at the time.
Yeah.
And then when Reason added VSTs, it was like, because we went through a year period where we were trying to do Ableton, and we learned Ableton, and we were making. We made probably 4 to 6.
We made Ready with K Stylist all in Ableton.
Forbes was started in
Forbes
Reason.
was made in Reason and Ableton.
I remember I was there for that.
We went back and forth with the stuff on that one. Yeah.
That's crazy. So it's just a matter of just that's what you learned on. That's what you started with.
Yeah. And I also now think it's better than Ableton.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's a personal opinion.
They have the other plugins.
I would think that there's got to be at least somewhat of an because you're at such a disadvantage that it actually creates an advantage for you in the end. Because it's Reason so well, in and out, you know how to make. If you were to just set me up with Ableton right now, right, and was create a dope track with just Ableton stuff, even using I'm sure I could do something decent, but I'd be really, really limited as far as what I'm able to do. So I'm saying your ability to be able to open up something and learn it to its full capability has to be a lot more.
Have it in the box.
Everyone gets freaked out by the back of the rack and shit, and it's you honestly never have to go back there too much. I do it when I'm mastering. And Reason, and that's about the only time. Other than that, everything hooks up itself. You just, put something underneath on the rack.
Right.
And it's just, I don't know, man. Everything's simple. You got the simple compressor. They do a good job, I think, with their compressors and with their reverb, their advanced reverb, and the scream distortion is the one thing that nobody's got anything on that, man.
Yeah.
That's just, you can use that for a tape saturator, and it brings a hell of a big sound for a tape saturator. Yeah. And I don't know, I use that, we use that on everything.
I think a lot of people don't even know that people are doing shit when Snails first came out, everyone was like, "Oh my god, this dude's got this fucking sound." And same thing with Hero Bus.
Snails and Hero Bus, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Reason Gang.
They're all
gang,
Reason gang.
It's because it's original. It's everyone hears the same Serum sounds, the same.
Yep.
Whatever hot VST is out at the moment, everyone passes around the same sounds. Wants to just sound like Skrillex at one point in time. Everyone tried to get that sound. But in Reason, it's maybe you can try to make a Skrillex sounding synth, but then it's probably not going to sound just like a Skrillex synth, but it'll be this other cool synth. Maybe that's how Snails started creating his crazy sound, which is actually fairly simple to create once you really just it's you could use a couple of different synths, but it's pretty simple to create that sound. It's just about being creative and pushing the boundaries with your synthesizer.
And also what I really like about Reason is just honestly how it looks, and it's very intuitive, and you see the racks and see the instruments.
Yo, Reason, where's the paycheck?
No, but real though, Ableton is just so cold, and
it is.
When I look at an Ableton session, I feel like I'm looking at IKEA furniture or some shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just but when I open up the Reason, you see the buttons and the color, and it's just when you're staring at something for fucking 8 hours, you want it to look
you want to look at an SSL mixing board.
Yeah, you want it
Reason
to look
has.
like how shit's supposed to look. So.
Yeah, I feel that it's because Reason's made by just a bunch of German scientists or something.
Yeah,
it looks like a math. Sorry, not Reason.
Actually,
Ableton. Looks like a math project.
Yeah,
Switzerland
it
or
does.
something?
Yeah, some weird place that.
God, I feel bad now. I don't even know where they're from.
Well, that matters. I remember I was learning in Logic.
Sweden.
Yeah, are they Sweden? Reason, Sweden, Ableton. I was talking about Ableton. That looks like a fucking math project.
I think Brando's exiting the frame.
He's out. Brando, peace out, dude.
Brando. Oh, you want to try?
Give him a shot. Oh wait, no.
He just wants a different laugh.
Yeah, he needs some new smells.
What's up, Pub? We don't know what kind of dog he is, but it doesn't matter. He's still special.
He said, "I smell cushion, Jack in the Box."
Yeah.
Move over.
We go to Uncle Alex. So as far as like speaking of like sounds, like you guys are using Reason, obviously. A lot of people watch our channel because they're trying to learn how to make sounds. Like, what type of processes do you guys go through when you're creating your sounds? Are you starting from a preset, or are you starting from initialized patch? Like, do you have like your go-tos as far as to make these interesting sounds? You guys have like a lot of really crazy sounds. Like, what is your process with that when you're creating those sounds? Are you doing it in the actual song itself, or are you doing a separate session?
I feel like it's a lot of like just different, like, you know what I'm saying?
We have like two different ways of going about it, and I mean, I think that's how everyone goes about it, but it's like sample based. Like, what Austin's good at doing is, I'm gonna put him down actually.
Later, Brando.
Sorry.
You're blowing it, dude. You're fucking up the interview, man.
I just have the mic so close. I don't want to be like hitting the mic the whole time. So like a lot of what Austin does is like, we really love, you know, like just finding weird samples and then taking them and kind of like using them basically as your wavetable,
as a starting point.
And then you take that and you, with your effects, you know, start morphing it to something different. And that's where like Scream can really like give that, you know, distortion into stuff with like a reverb, like doing a reverb and then a scream, or usually doing like a parallel channel, and then on the parallel channel hitting a reverb and then hitting a scream after that, and you get this really thick, you know, reverb, you know, that compresses the reverb so much it becomes so thick, and then you still got the you know, richness of the original track, and then the parallel track you can level that. But I mean, I feel like we do a lot of that where we're taking samples and we're just pushing them to making them sound totally different than when we got them.
Yeah.
So you guys are starting with most of your sound design is coming out of actual audio versus an actual like Serum or another VST.
Yeah, and I mean, we will use Serum or another VST, but not as I would say not as often. I mean, we try to, because, you know, sometimes you get in these stages where you're like pretty much done with the song, and then you got this sample and you're like, okay, we need it to be like, this whole song actually needs to be another key, because we're like, this bass is now we've done all this, and now we finally look back at the bass and we're like, what were we thinking? This bass is like, you know, a C, and it's like just not kicking right. And so then we're like, all right, now we need to move this up like 4 semitones. And then we move it up, and then you take this sample and you try to move the sample up, and it's like,
it's not happening.
Yeah, so then you're like, shit, now we need to recreate this sample noise that we found. And so we try to find sense, but at the end of the day, I think the creativity for us really like manifests from getting a cool sample and saying, oh, this is tight, like what can we do with this, and make a song out of it. I don't think there's any right way or wrong way, because at the end of the day, creating like a harmonic like composition is like, that's where the talent comes in, to be able to fit it in this arrangement style that everyone else uses and make it creative in this box. That's what makes you a talented musician. I don't care how you go about doing that. I don't care if you use loops, what you use, as long as you can make a song at the end of the day, I'm like, wow, this is fire. It doesn't even matter after that, you know?
I think that's good for like people to hear too, because I think a lot of people get stuck on the idea that they need to use Serum all the time. When you use Serum all the time,
you sound like Serum.
No matter what you do, unless you're like turning a knob, like, I don't know, maybe you're turning the feedback on the delay knob like all the way up, or doing something that no one's done yet, which is probably not possible. But with audio, it's like sound design is not just making cool synths in Serum. You know what I mean? It's hearing something in a sound that's interesting and taking that to a whole nother level.
Yeah, I mean, even in Serum, it's like you go ahead and make a cool sound. It's like, all right, now I made a cool sound. Now how can I 2.0 this? So usually the process is, let me print this, and now let me fuck with this wave, and let me do something creative with it different. I mean, that often, not only just us, when I work with other producers, you know, like I notice they do stuff like that a lot, and, you know, I'm always learning from everyone, you know, we work with and stuff, and I saw people doing that. I'm like, all right, that's like, why don't we just make our own samples sometimes? Because at the end of the day, we're gonna morph it anyway. And it's fun to morph wave files. And in Reason, you know, we were talking about this earlier, but as far as chopping waves in the Reason sequencer is all right there within the track you're chopping. There's no like bouncing up and down.
Right.
So like it's really easy to chop stuff like that.
Yeah, I find that like there's just so many different ways to do things, and like when I was like first starting, for some reason, because I watched one person.
Reason?
Yeah, there you exactly.
Damn.
I actually, you know what?
Yo, we can't do it every time someone says reason, please.
The first DAW I opened up was actually Pro Tools, but I could not get it to work. So what I did is I bought Reason 4, and I made the drums in Reason. And I don't think a lot of people know that. So like, if people are like, "Oh, well, I use Ableton, I can't use Reason," you know, it's like you can use it as a third-party plugin. You can map it into Ableton or any DAW there is. Right?
Yeah. What is it called? Rewire.
Rewire. Exactly.
Yeah.
You guys don't have to worry about that shit because you guys are just rocking it right now.
Rewire. We are the
Yeah,
wire.
and most of the time it's hard. You gotta have a badass computer to do a big project with Rewire.
It's just a pain in the ass. I've never like
with Reason, cause like, yeah,
successfully. I mean, I've used it, but it's like
we did it in the beginning.
Used it, but it's been like it's just kind of like a pain. It's like ass around the elbow type.
But then you might as well just export. Like back in the day when you couldn't use audio and Reason files, we would have to export the audio out.
You couldn't use audio and Reason? Oh wait, that's when I was doing it.
Yeah,
That's right.
And 4 you couldn't.
On MIDI.
Then they made record, and then what they did was they made a Rewire kind of setup with record
era.
and Reason.
Triple Rewire?
It was a Rewire, but it worked more seamlessly because they were the same manufacturer. And then they finally were like, "What are we doing? Why are we doing this?"
I remember putting stuff into NXT. This like long. Oh my god, way back.
Yeah, I mean, there was. I mean, I would say when we first started, we should have just stopped and been like, "All right, let's use Ableton like then." Right. But I'm glad we stuck with it now.
This is like, oh wait, I don't think Ableton was Ableton.
No, Ableton was around.
It was, but it wasn't.
But it wasn't popping like you know.
It just started. I mean, to me, Ableton started popping in 2011.
Right.
Yeah.
And like we were just figuring out how to make electronic music in Reason in 2011, just starting Styles&Complete, you know, which was like a very rare form of electronic music. It was like hip hop, and then we're gonna try our best take at a dubstep drop, which like wasn't dubstep, and I think that's why people appreciated it too, because they were like, "What is this weird shit?"
Hybrid, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how like trends are set. You know what I mean? Genres are made. But what's cool is like now it seems like you and I were having this conversation, and we all were actually, and we were talking about your record label that you guys got coming out and all the artists that you're releasing, and this song obviously Waves is more of a long-lasting listenable song.
Yeah.
And I find that like especially in like EDM, is that the music is very fast food. You know what I mean? So it's
disposable.
Like exactly. Give me the song. I'm gonna listen to it. I'm gonna eat it right, and then I'm done with it. Because it's like all these. There's so much heat that's coming out. There's so much good stuff that's coming out. But it's also just like I don't even hear melodies anymore, man. Yeah. Like I hear literally build and then like a crazy drop sound. But that shit's not long lasting. And I think it's cool that you guys, hopefully we could talk about this with your new record label, what you guys are trying to do with that as far as, your feelings about that.
Focusing on timeless music that can be played 30 years from now and still, sound relevant.
And that's why like right now with a lot of the artists we're working on are literally all three of the rappers all sing too, which is like amazing. And then like one of the female artists, she sings like indie pop stuff. But I mean, it's not that we don't like EDM or don't want that on the label. It's that we want music that's timeless, and it's very, it's very seldom you find timeless music in EDM. We were talking about that earlier, like Flux Pavilion. Right. Like there you go, there's one. And you know why that's timeless? Because it has melody in it.
Yeah.
And that's what resonates with the soul is the melody. And so like that's what we were just like, we were making all these EDM records and it was just like, man, we can look back and it kind of feels like we didn't like do anything, just from an inside looking out, we're just like, what have we done? Just a bunch of remixes and stuff. And it's like, those are all really cool. But like, honestly, it's like, I don't even want to listen to like the really old remix I made or something. Cause it's like, doesn't even fit with like what we're listening to nowadays and stuff. And if we could make music that not only a large group of people could like, and we could feel, ourselves, but not only that, but it lasts for a long period of time. Yeah. It's like that. I feel like that's so much more of what we want to do. Yeah. And that's where like, we love electronic music, want to incorporate it, but it's like, got to incorporate it in a way. Like I know Flume, like I really think Flume is able to like make it the way I'm saying, where it like hits you, it's electronic. It's my classic. Mom, I could play it for my mom and she might like it too. Right. Whereas like I can't play pretty much any of our other records for my mom. My mom's just like, it sounds
it
sounds fast and loud.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's what it's supposed to be, Mom. That means I'm doing it right. I think.
Yeah, same with like my wife. It's like finally music. She's like, oh, this is good.
Wow. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like where it's like, oh, she could actually like listen to it and like it, and not knocking what we've done, but I feel like to a degree, like bass music was almost like jazz. Where it's like very competitive, and it's like who can be the best at producing. It's sometimes what bass music sounds 100%. Like, and best being most complex and most like next level. It's like you're building like a science project or something. But in what gets lost in that is sometimes, often, a majority of the time, really good music is simple.
Yeah,
it's very simple, and it's melody, it's vocals, it's lyrics, it's touching.
It's arrangement.
It's arrangement, yeah, and like.
Dude, I like that a lot. Like what you just said right there, I think is clutch.
Yeah.
Can we need to write this down and do 3 Twitter posts out of that?
Yeah. Bass music is like jazz.
That was like 600. Yeah, that right there, saying that is just like, right now, EDM to me personally is just like you said. It's like it's gotten to a point, and I don't want to knock EDM because there's a lot of great stuff out there. Don't get me wrong.
It's a crazy, amazing.
It is.
Genre.
It's amazing, and I love it. But it's like it seems to be more about skill, sound design, production, how great it sounds, versus the actual
element of surprise.
Song.
Yeah.
You know.
There's not a lot of feeling it. With like guys like Flume are definitely doing that. You guys are doing that here. And I think that's great.
It's like it's super experimental about pushing the boundaries. And then what I think EDM's great for other genres is to say, wow, did you hear that crazy thing they did in that EDM track? Let's take that one piece out of that big drop, and we'll make that our fill. Like, let's make like Skrillex makes like, and then we're like that. Let's do that, and then we're like piano, and then we're like in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, just take little pieces of it and make really creative, like different sounding music that we've been listening to for years now, guitars and pianos and stuff like that.
I was talking with Daniel from Heroes and Villains, and he brought up like a good point, like an example. It's like electronic artists are like creating like a palette of sounds,
right?
You know what I'm saying? That like other people can use. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
you said, just insert. It's like just taking like the little pieces, which is it's cool. And honestly, we have a 4-track experimental bass EP. Not to say we're like out of bass music at all, like and it just doesn't sound like the other stuff we were doing because it almost started to feel like a chore to this pissing contest of who can make the hardest drop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
100%. And
it stopped to a degree. It almost stopped being fun to try to chase that like.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like this has got to be harder than.
This has to be harder than like. Carnage,
you also said
it. Be harder than You
also
like
set it so high for we set like how like it's got to be better than our last track. It's got to be better than this track. Which you always want to do that, but with electronic music, it's like, all right, where do we go? So now
where do we go from here?
This EP that we're doing. So we got our EP with this first single, Waves, coming out on the 26th. And then we're going to do a series of singles, and then the rest of the EP going to come together over the next couple months. And then after that, we've pretty much already finished this, like, experimental sound. It's like experimental, like, trap. So it's very, very weird. Like,
cool.
The weirdest shit. Like, it's like I don't like... It's like psychedelic like trap. Like, it's just really weird.
Yeah.
I'll play some stuff for you. We could maybe... I don't know.
Can we play it?
Yeah, I mean, we could play a track for sure.
Think about like a rapper like doing a mixtape for the streets. You know what I'm saying?
Hell yeah.
Or like doing a freestyle for somebody. This is like us like kind of
still
like, hey guys,
like our freestyle.
We're making this like very pop music, but then here's our tape for the producers and the people who've been rocking with us for like 7 or 8 years.
Like,
for the heavy shit, like here's
we're
still here,
this
bro.
is for like coming. We want to come do. We always want to do like those underground like raging parties, no matter what.
Yeah.
Like
we're always gonna be able to.
Like our plans are to make a lot of like bigger music, and we want to hit the Billboard charts and stuff with our new sound. But we also want to still play the basements like for like a cool like underground party thing, because like we've done a lot of that in our career, and that's like that's a part of us, like is like we know how to like throw a fucking party,
Yeah, you do.
But but at the same time, it's like we also with the new sound we want to say, hey, we want to show you a show of the music we've been working on, and then say, hey, well, this show we're gonna do more of this underground party and kind kind of like theme things, so we could like open up for somebody with a not as hard crazy set, and then we could also do like a crazy like set with some like a bunch of dubstep producers on some like underground style shit.
Right. I think that's so important too with like with people, and like what's crazy is like we do like remakes, so we're like remaking people's songs, and the reason why I do remakes is so that it helps me learn production, and it helps me train my ear, it helps me learn how to sound design, right? But it's like the idea of remaking is just for like the skill level. The like the music itself needs to come from you and who you are as like an original person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like people are and I'm guilty of this too, where I'm very quick to try to make a song like XYZ. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Versus like when I sit in a room, and this is harder to do for me than it is to just like remake a Skrillex drop. You know what I'm saying? What's harder for me to do sometimes is to be able to sit in a room and fucking sit down and start making whatever the fuck I want without even like, you know, with trying not to think about like, oh, I should do it like this or that. Yeah. Because really, that's unequivocally, I don't know if that's the right word, but that's you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like that's you being original. And a lot of times with like success, at least from my experience and from my understanding of it, is you're always the most successful when it's something that is originally you. Like you're not thinking about anybody else. You're just like what I like. And I feel like people that are hopefully watching this can learn from you guys and from this is that you have the ability to create things that no one's ever heard before if it just comes from you.
Yeah, somebody told me one time, I can't quote who's told me this, but they were like, why, like somebody like showed some music and it was like it sounded like very similar to like Excision, and you're like, why would I get your track when I can just go get the real thing?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
And generic version.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a big lesson.
Diet Excision.
Yeah, that's a big lesson for everyone to have, I think, you know.
I'll have the Diet Excision.
Yeah, I don't want to go too hard. I don't want to like hear.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be too perfect. I want it to be a little messy.
Right.
Like, but no, I mean, it's that's a great way to like every time you make a track, be like, is this the Diet Excision? Is this the Diet Drake? You know, everyone wants to make tracks like Drake. Is this the Diet Post Malone?
Right.
You know, like, because when these guys come out, they're tastemakers. Everybody wants to like make a track like them, but that's just slowing you. That's just slowing you down for, you know.
Right.
You gotta
really
ask yourself,
being somebody of your own. You know.
You gotta ask yourself, what do you bring to the table? Like when you're making a song, and if it's starting to sound a lot like something else, it's like, okay. And it's okay to like be influenced and have vibes, especially, you know, the hot artists. That's like the sound right now. So you do want to like be current. So,
right.
But okay, so what are you doing to add to that?
Right.
As opposed to just doing the same thing and trying to basically copy them, you know?
Yeah.
So
I find that's like that. Like when you brought up like Post Malone, like if you look at that guy and like if you actually like look into who he is, he's like some kid from Texas that loves country music, that wants to dress like his dad, and like loves hip hop.
I think I saw the interview.
And it's just like
he's very unique for sure.
And that whole record is not just like an R&B hip hop record. It's like there's like some folk in there. There's some real shit, and you could tell. And he's just like his own personality.
Yeah.
And I find that like there's not enough of that right now.
He's never cared what anyone thought about him. That's why he wore the weirdest shit to school and stuff. It's like, and that's why he is what he is.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot of electronic music is very. I mean, every genre really. It's not just electronic rap. Everything. There's just a lot of copycat from everything, from the way people dress, the way people talk, the way people, you know. And originality is always very important. I mean, we're preaching to ourselves. We've had to learn this in some ways on our own throughout the years, you know. So
that's why with rhythm, like, it's cool and all, but I kind of rag on it just because I'm like, you know, the one creative aspect about it that I would say is like, you've got to do something very highly creative to stand apart from the other rhythm tracks, because you're in this. I mean, you could say the same thing about tech house or something. You know, it's in this same kind of like drum pattern, and it's very specific. But like to me, it's like, man, don't you think you're gonna get tired of making that shit?
Yeah.
Don't you think one day you're gonna be like, I kind of want to do a different beat than this one? Yeah. You know, I mean, for me, it's like I can never. Like, I understand, like, arrangement boxes, like, you know, this is the way our music should be pretty much structured. I mean, there's always been rules for everything, but for me, it's like sitting in one box and always just doing that kind of stuff. Like, with at least like hip hop beats, you can like change the beat up a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
And like, but it's like this, like, at
some point, are you actually going to break your neck?
I long for like a new version of this.
At some point, are you gonna say it enough to where your neck actually fucking breaks? And that sucks. That was so to break your neck. You know what I'm saying? Like, you couldn't even produce. Like, you'd be like, you know, have the tube in the mouth, like telling directions, like.
What type of like what type of stuff are you guys like in your creative process? Like, what type of stuff are you guys doing to get your original selves in your music? Like, what type of like where are you guys pulling that from? Like, where does that come from? And like how what is your process when you guys are sitting down to write a song to make it this this thing that's like I said, unafraid to be you and original? Like, how, because a lot of people like I know for a fact are like, oh, like I want to make my own sound. Like, everybody wants to make their own sound. And for you guys, what is your process, if you don't mind sharing that? I don't know if people are weird about that. But.
I mean, well, I just pretty much.
I feel like a lot of it is going back to like the music we like and drawing influence off of the music we grew up with. Like, he was very into alternative rock. Like, I grew up listening to like country music and stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know, and there's a lot to be learned as far as songwriting and arrangement and melody in all these other genres. I you know, grew up loving always. I mean, hip hop is my go-to when there's something I want to listen to. Like, at any point in time, it's gonna be hip hop. And that's obviously what got us in the game from the beginning. Was we started off just making rap beats for Ying Twins, and eventually morphed into this whole thing.
I didn't know you guys did beats for Ying Twins. That's tight.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It was cool. It was an experience.
Yeah. It was cool in like 2008, you know. Right.
But so what I was just gonna say is like how we exactly usually go about making stuff nowadays is I'm more of like the finisher. Like, I know I'm good at like adding what we call like the sprinkles, the seasoning.
Yeah.
Like, I'm good at like taking something and like if you got a good idea, like an 8-bar loop, I'll make the song, you know. And then so he'll come up with a lot of this like ideas, and like usually like I'll just be like, nah, I'm not feeling that, or like, yeah, I'm feeling it. You know? And then like, you know, and then, you know, when he does do something, usually I'm just like, dude, I don't want to sound like anything else. Like, it's not a process that's like, bam, we just got something.
Right.
It's like I'll like push him to make it crazy different. I don't want to have ever heard anything like this, and then he'll eventually give me something, and I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, all right.
It's such a weird moment,
that in the Dropbox.
Too. Like when I'm like showing him something, like there are times when I'm thinking I'm like killing it, and I'm like, I'll wait 2 days, and I'm like, I'm gonna finish this whole beat and show it to him. Like, this shit's so fire. I'm in there, you know, just like fine tuning, trying to mix it down myself, and then I show it to him. I'm like all excited, and he's like, it's all right, and then it's just like crushes my dreams. I hate him. I like hate him for like 30 minutes, and I get over it. But we progressed a little bit past that.
That's the struggles of being a duo.
Especially being, you know, I just got to LA like a month ago, and for 4 or 5 years we were, you know, we started in Charlotte. He moved to Los Angeles, and we've just been working over the internet, or when we had shows, or when I made trips out here
for the last 4 years.
Yeah, and that's just been very, very difficult. Wow. So, especially for
shout
me.
Out Dropbox.
Yeah.
Shout out FaceTime.
Yeah, Dropbox FaceTime. Shout out
FaceTime. I mean, that's hard to really like to have a to collab with anybody in a group setting, to have two people, two egos, two personalities.
So much difficult. So much of the energy is just us in a room together.
Right.
That's how this whole thing started, and now that we have that back, it's like workflow has just been crazy.
We made that second experimental EP in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, whereas that would have taken us like 4 months before or something, you know,
nice.
And wouldn't have sounded like this.
Just because what happens is like I'm like the lazy artist. I'm not lazy at all. I work hard, but like I'll work for a little bit, and then I'll just be like, today's not the day. I'm not emotionally there.
Yeah.
and then when we're both in the studio together,
it's below 60 outside.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not high enough, and the weed's not good enough.
The weed's just not working. It's just I saw something on my Facebook newsfeed.
So like normally in a situation like that, when we're not
together, I got a kid, son. I gotta make this beat, bro.
So I'll step away, and I'll be like, later, you know, I'll come back or something. But I'll step away, and then he'll be like, all right, and he'll sit down and start working, and then like he'll be like going to put his fingers down. I'm like, wait, I'm like, I got it. Watch out.
And then 8 hours later, he's done. And then I was like, all right, well.
So you're the torture artist, basically.
Yeah, like we used to like joke around and I don't even think I can say that.
What?
The hose thing.
Oh, how I would spray you with the hose.
Yeah.
You'd spray him with that.
No, I didn't actually spray him with the hose.
You did like one time, I think.
I did spray
with my
the
kitchen sink thing.
Yeah.
Because he was just like, get to work.
What's what movie Silence of the Lambs, where it's like it puts the lotion on its skin or it gets the hose. I was like, it makes the beat or it gets the hose.
Yeah.
This was back when I didn't. This was back before I knew how to make beats, so I would just be in his ear like, all right, the beat needs to sound like this.
I'd be like,
in his ear.
dude, a little too loud. Stop.
That was our work process back then, you know.
Right.
So it's like,
need
make
that.
the beat.
The successful partnership always has to have like kind of one dude that's just kind of
We're
like
mad
off
different.
in the air.
We're mad
one dude
different.
that's a lot more organized.
I'm at every after party, missing my flights in the morning. He's fucking in bed. Like if the show ends at 2, he's in bed by 2:30.
Yeah,
nice.
I'm in bed maybe from like 5:30 to like 6:30 if our flight's at 7:30.
That's so important. That's probably why you guys are able to do that.
Yeah, like we don't fight about anything. When it comes to money, we figure it out. If there's a discrepancy. And I think it's just about being mature about the situation and understanding that that's not going to get us anywhere. So I'm like, I can like happily say in our beat making partnership.
Yeah. You can say
marriage.
Yeah.
It's 2018. We can say that.
No, but yeah. So like we've never fought.
That's awesome.
Like like we've gotten like.
You talking about fist fight?
No, we've never like screamed at each other on the phone ever.
First fight coming. Damn. Arguing about fighting.
No, we haven't.
We haven't.
I don't think we have. No, actually.
I'm like hella surprised because it's like I haven't been able to do it with one girl yet. But him, I could, I'm like, I need a girl like complete.
Damn.
I need a girl that
right into it.
I need a girl that I don't fight with. We can work. We can work together.
I need a girl like complete.
Yeah, man.
That's a tagline.
Like they're
they're a great chick.
They all flop sometimes.
I clean.
If I'm not if I stay up till 7 in the morning, he's at my house at 11 the next day. He'll like make me coffee and shit to get me out of bed. Like,
fuck yeah.
These are the things you look for.
That's the bromance right there.
Yeah,
that's dope.
You gotta keep each other happy.
By any means, that record gotta get finished, and like I'm not the one who makes it down.
If coffee gets it, if in his mind he's like, if I can get him coffee and that's gonna make this thing. He's so good.
He's gonna finish it. Then I can send it to our manager. Then he can send it to
schedules
distribution.
everything.
And things can actually move forward. But if I don't get this piece of shit coffee, then like I don't know, I don't know if we're ever gonna release the record. You know what I'm saying? Like
you're like Parker, and I'm like you.
Yeah, there you go.
Like,
see?
Yeah, no, I can totally see that.
You see the vibe?
Yeah.
We're two like.
We'll teach you guys a few things about relationships.
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna like I'll sit down and be like, yo, we need to come up. This is what we need to do, and I'll have like all these ideas. Now, if I didn't work with somebody else and I knew this about myself, I would just have all those ideas and maybe accomplish like 2 of them,
Yeah.
like out of like 10 ideas. But
like,
I could tell him 10 ideas, and he'll say, okay, when can we do this? How can we do this? And like make sure it's written down in a calendar for the month, and then we'll actually accomplish every single last thing. And that's like really important to find somebody that can fill in maybe some attributes that you can recognize, that you observe with yourself. Hey, I'm not good at this, and just know, like, and that was where the partnership really came into play. Like, he's like, hey, I want to make beats, but I'm just learning, and there's no way I could do it. I'm like, hey, I already do that.
Right.
And then, but I don't have the, I didn't go to school with a marketing degree, and I'm not on, like, when I met him, made a parody of I Love Charlotte by Asher. I Love College by Asher Roth. Made a parody called I Love Charlotte, right? This is how we met.
It's off the internet now. Don't go.
It's off the internet. but he's on. I'm like listening, hear him on one radio station, right? And I'm like, what the fuck? And I don't know this guy, so I'm just like salty. I'm like, who is this other dude that thinks he's as good as me in Charlotte? Like, because like I at first I was just making beats for the Ying twins, and he was just like this big ass DJ in North Carolina.
You were a real big DJ. I remember that.
Yeah.
I mean, still are, but
I remember.
Whoops.
Peace out, everyone.
No, but weren't you DJing for the Hornets?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I was the DJ for the Charlotte Hornets for six years. Yeah.
He was on all 3 radio stations though. Eventually, with this parody song he made,
and
I was like, "Who is this dude?" One of my best friend was like, "Dude, have you checked out that DJ Complete guy?" And I'm like, "Damn, you fuck with him too."
Wow.
Like, cause I was just salty a little bit about him in the beginning, and then I just like I watched it, and I was like, and then I heard him on another radio station. I'm like, I don't have any of this in my life, and maybe we can offer each other some
right.
help. And he happened to be looking for someone to help make beats, so it was just perfect, like to start it off like that.
Usually, the best friendships come from a little bit of hate in the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. I remember.
Yeah, I was like, "Who's this?"
Go ahead, say it.
Who's this guy?
This dick juggling cocksmack.
A dick juggling cocksmack?
Dude, these are the words he uses.
He sends me a link to his MySpace. It's like myspace.com/a motherfucking Styles. I'm like, what? Dude,
you got Styles.
Go with that.
That's a fucking badass name. And then later on in the future, then in the future, we saw some like big artists did the same fucking thing. And I was
but
like,
it was probably like a rapper on Zane.
My email address was like astyles1212 at AOL.com, and I don't care if somebody sends whatever. Like, go for it. I'm like,
no way that's
hit him up on your buddy list.
The other day, it's active, like with 50,000 unread messages.
That's a dark hole. Wow. of spam.
But like, he's like, dude, you can't have 1212 at the end of your name.
You can't have AOL.
You could change, and it can't be AOL anymore. I mean, granted, this was like still like not that late.
Right.
But he taught me how to be more like a grown up about things. And,
That's good.
and I taught him how to make beats.
There you go.
Brando, did you pee?
He threw up a little.
That's probably because it's complete.
So I gotta. I want to switch gears and start talking about what you guys. No, that was perfect. That was great. I just want to make sure that we talk about what you guys got going on as far as like the record label. With this new single that's coming out. Are you guys accepting music from people, or do you guys want to tell, like, at least from like a record label's sort of stance, like what you guys are specifically looking for, if that, or if you guys just want to talk about how that's kind of coming out and how that came together?
Yeah, I mean, send promos at metarecords.com is the email. So we listen to everything. But right now we have a few artists that we're kind of focusing on, and obviously our own stuff.
Nice.
And we just like want it to be like, it can't just be like a banger that's just the genre that's big right now for the 6 months. Like, it's got to be something on its own box,
right,
doing its own thing.
Yeah, for the most part, it's like right now we're I want to never say never. Right now we're not really leaning towards much like heavy bass.
Mm-hmm.
But
unless you can make heavy bass that your grandma wants to listen to and your mom.
There you go.
And your friends that don't listen to bass music. I'm all about finding that crossover and bringing that in, but
we get stuff all the time from some of the guys. Like, we tell them to hit, like, we give out free feedback. That's like one of the things we do, and it's just like there's some stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's like, okay, this is this, but I mean, I always try to find the good in all of it, but some stuff I'm like, fuck, man, this guy's better than I am. Like, what the fuck? Like, so it's nice to always just get music just to put it out there as far as like for our people, like they want to be in touch or like get your ear on it, you know what I mean? Especially if you're doing like a record label, but also at the same time, you're not looking for you're not trying to get an inbox flooded with just like the same type of shit over and over again.
Yeah, I mean right now we're doing a lot of like softer kind of stuff, but it can also be like a stronger track, but just mainly we want vocals on the track too. You know, like we're not really doing like straight instrumental tracks. I don't think is what we're going for right now. Yeah. So if you got vocals on it and
it's good, it's different.
Get on it.
And your grandma likes it.
Your grandma likes it. Shit.
I think that's pretty good for the questions that I have for today. I just wanted to make sure that we got
got the plugs and everything.
The label we've got. Duncan Davis. You can expect him soon on the label.
That's dope.
We got a couple other artists that I'm not gonna really talk about them quite yet until we launch them.
Still developing.
Cool.
The brand and everything.
Absolutely.
But like a lot of time, like timeless is like the motto of the label. We just want to make stuff.
And you can expect music coming out in February as well. Another single that's similar to this one, Waves, that's dropping on the 26th.
Hey.
Once again. But yeah,
January 26th.
We have another one with this awesome chick named Lauren Marie. And she's like cool as shit, and she sings great, and that will be our next single called Losing Days in LA after Waves. So we're just gonna keep them flowing. Like every month we're gonna be dropping new music. We kind of like spent a lot of time in the studio this last year, you know, so we're ready to start hitting the road again and
right. What about this this bass EP that you guys were talking about, this experimental bass?
We don't know where that's going. Like, we're just kind of need to finish it. It's all still in sessions, but it's not far off, and we don't know
once it's done, we're gonna figure out a home for it, and it's not gonna be on Meta Records because, like I said, that's not what we're doing.
Yeah, preferably to a bass label. Just not sure, you know, who we're send it to yet.
And that could really come out like if we've got records from the first EP still coming out. We really wouldn't mind if this came out at the same time. It doesn't matter.
Two separate worlds,
2 lanes.
You know? Yeah. So, and I just read an article about dropping dual singles.
Really?
It's pretty
like
interesting.
A strategy?
Like how a lot of the bigger artists right now, like Ed Sheeran did it. That's the only
Which
example
is like people
I remember.
like you see like somebody's in 2 movies at the same time in the box office, and they're both doing well a lot of times.
Well, sometimes you have like a backup to the one, so you could find the one, and then you could be like, oh, what else does he have? And then you have the other single, and like maybe you'll like one single and not the other. Sometimes in one instance, the label was thinking that one single was gonna be big, but the other one ended up being big, and they put them out as a package. So like, I guess it's just a cool way to give the consumer like a little bit of a choice. Like they came out with a new song, maybe you don't like this one, but maybe you like this one, you know?
Right. That's dope.
It's not a bad idea.
That's. I mean, you got to get creative with these things. But thank you guys for coming by. I fucking really appreciate it. You guys have. Bro. You guys have the. Oh yeah. You guys are using Cartel and a track. You said. Is that true?
Yes. Cartel pack.
Hey guys.
That shit was fire.
You like it?
Sure.
Okay, dope.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
Very fire.
Make sure you guys.
Fire.
Give us a sub and wub. We are at XLNTSOUND. This is Styles&Complete. If you want to plug your socials, what is it? At Styles and ampersand.
Twitter Styles letter N complete. Instagram Styles and Complete.
Everything else is Styles and Complete. Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud.
Spotify Styles ampersand Complete.
And don't forget about
It's not confusing at all.
Meta Records, METTA Records.
METTA, yep.
You guys got your websites comingsoon.com and January 26th for Waves. Check it out, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Breeze on the way, so I'm sailing